everyone, it's Robbie. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go take a walk like I always do on a quiet morning when Gary's not here, and just think of things I'm gonna do, things I've done in the garden, things I'm not gonna do in the garden, and just kind of walk around. Now, if you are looking for a garden tour or something to do with gardening, then don't bother watching this long video. This is basically me, I guess you would call it vlogging, just walking and talking about maybe a few tips here and there, talking about life, talking about how it used to be and how it is now, and just enjoying nature. That's what this is. This is not a garden tour. It's not going to have anything major. And I'm pretty sure any tips I give in here, I will come back later and do the same thing for everybody to enjoy. But this is kind of long. I've got a lot of people requesting, give us a long video. Well, that's one thing I can do. So that's what I'm going to do. Just take a stroll. I'm going to walk through my garden. I'm going to show you some of the things I'm doing right now and some of the things I'm coming up with and trying, and then I'm going to walk down the hill and I'm going to walk to Gary's garden and see what's going on there, because I haven't been down there in about 2 weeks. It sounds silly. I mean, we live together, but we have different gardens, and his garden is way down the hill there, and I literally have to hike down there, and I'm just so busy, and by the time I'm ready to go down there, the day's over. So I'm gonna go take a walk now. Just a quiet morning, just walking. So again, please don't watch the hour video and say, oh my gosh, this wasn't anything on really gardening, and I watch you because I wanna see your wood chips, I wanna see your containers, I wanna see what you're doing. This is a vlog on what we did all week, you know, just basically on our lives for people that, for some reason, wanna hear me? Don't know, but I'm just going to take you with me with my camera, and we're going to walk through the garden and see what's going on. So if you want to come, and if you don't, that's okay. Don't worry. I'll have a garden tour and I'll have other stuff coming up really soon that's on gardening. So come on, come with me if you want. So let's go. So it's a quiet morning and Gary took off to do some errands, and I thought it's so beautiful and peaceful. I thought I'm just going to do a walk, not a garden tour, just a walk with thinking about projects we're doing and ideas and thoughts, things like that. And you can just come with me. That's what I do. Just go on a walk. This is a video coming up and you'll see that soon. I'm crazy about tulle. And then of course, I'll have all this in another video. I've got my first squash zucchini seeds coming up straight sowed in the ground, which means now it's time to start planting. And that's something I want to start to do because I haven't really done that yet. I'm still cleaning in the garden and deciding on what I want to plant. And you know, we had an interesting day. Yesterday we stopped at the nursery and I said to them, there's no plants yet really to speak of. And they said it's been very slow this year. Because of the weather, they're just starting to get their plants in, and Gary wants to get strawberries. Well, you know what? I'll go down to his garden on this walk and you'll be able to see his garden real quick. But here I've decided to clear all this out, got rid of all the old dead tomatoes, and I'm doing this different, got rid of this bird stand that was sitting in there. It was actually in my way, and that's what I'm trying to think about. Things that are in my way, I want to be able to get to things. So I'm going to clear this out. And I'm composting right now in here. You know, kitchen scraps, leaves and stuff will be going in here. You know how I do it. I'm gonna set up containers above the compost. This way the roots set in and the plants will be contained in their containers. So when I water the containers, it's watering, of course, my compost down there, which is full of earthworms. Oh, I looked this morning, it was just full of earthworms. And then each container I can plant, doing it that way, I can plant a tomato there, I can plant a squash here. It doesn't matter. The roots will leave, go into the compost, and I can continue to throw leaves and kitchen scraps and stuff in here. And nothing seems to get in here. I haven't had any problems with mice or rats. Maybe it's tall enough, maybe they don't want to bother, I don't know. And then of course, the squash is coming up. I think that's a hybrid, I'm pretty sure it is, and then all kinds of other seeds are growing. No soil in here. So I'm going to move some and decide what I'm going to do. And then, of course, there's some baby cuttings from the dinosaur kale, I am going to start trimming this back. Like, this is in my way. It's kind of silly to just leave it here, so I'm going to trim that. But yeah, so what did we do yesterday? So I decided to go with Gary because we needed to get my car smogged, which did and did not pass. That was interesting. I don't drive it enough. They said I need to get it up higher, get it on the freeway. We don't vacation. We don't go anywhere. We have staycations. We do everything at home. We have for over 20 years. I mean, we did go to Vegas years ago on vacation with Gary's family came out. You know how that vacation was? We took them to Vegas. We spent the day. That was so funny. We came home late at night. Then at the end of the week, when they were ready to come home, we went back, went out to dinner with them, and came home that same night. That's our vacation. But, you know, that's okay. We don't spend a lot of money. And that is fine. You know, that works out perfect. So that was our thing. Oh, but yesterday we went to the thrift store. I told Gary, let's stop. He didn't want to stop. He found himself a cowboy hat, a really nice one too. Made in the USA, 100% wool. He likes wearing hats around the yard, which is very important. I tried on some hats. I found a blue one. I don't think blue looks good on me. I love blue, but I think red looks good on me. I don't know. I never liked red. But anyways, he found that and he found the tripod. And we'll see, my car didn't pass, so he's driving it today on the freeway and doing a bunch of errands, and hopefully he'll bring it back. They said it ran good, everything was good, but the computer system said it needed something else, and he needs to get it on the freeway. So he did that. Now I'm going to trim back, I think, a lot of this broccoli as well, the sprouting broccoli, and kind of clean this area up more. I've got all these thoughts and ideas. And oh, really quick here. These are wonderful. I love putting zip ties on. I didn't put any tape over this to protect it. But let me tell you, this will not slip. As long as you're getting the ones that have the ridges, it's impossible to slip because the ridges won't go down. I mean, there's ridges on there, so you can tie your plants on there, whether you're using wire or string. That's why they put ridges on these things. So it can't slip past the ridge. And this has just worked great. Now I can make it any size I want. I made this one a little taller than the other ones there. I mean, realistically, you're not going to make it 20, 30 feet in the air. How are you going to get to it? But there was a guy that grew one of the tallest tomatoes, and he did service it by ladder, but I'm not going to do that. So what else is going on? I have so many thoughts and ideas. And here's the problem. I don't want to put them all up because I want to make sure they're good before I put something up. I mean, I've got this great idea how to get rid of ants. It works for me if you get ants in a pot, but you know, it may not work for somebody else. So I'm kind of waiting on that. And then of course I've got my magic dust. That's another story for another time. I use that for a lot of different things. Been cleaning up the garden, putting a lot, as you can see, I trimmed back my curry plant. I just threw that in there, and there's eggshells and kitchen scraps. I'm going to top that with some garden soil or wood chips, I'm not sure. And then again, I'm going to place these containers there and plant some tomatoes in here. And that works out really good. This way, especially here in Southern California, it gets really hot in the summer. And when I water the pots, I know the plant is getting full water. I've talked about this in other videos. When you water a container or water in the ground, if it develops an underground creek, let's say, you could water the plant, but the plant may not get it. It might go somewhere else. And then you don't know that, and then the plant dies. So I really like that. It works for me. I mean, look at my sorrel. That's in a pot. Look how beautiful this thing is. This is like 3 or 4 years old now. I only need the one. I think there's 2 out front. I bought a couple of them, but look how beautiful in a pot. And then, of course, I got walking onions in a pot. That I took everything out, so I've got to clean that out. That's in the ground. So that's doing fine right there. It's probably feeding off of this container. There's probably holes there, and then when it leaches out, all the worm castings and everything that are in there leaches into them, and that just turned into a field, a massive field. So let's see what else is going on. I was almost going to take the eggplant out. Looks like it's making a comeback. The water feature's nice. I should scrub that, but you know, it's natural algae, so what am I going to do? And let's see. So anyways, it's starting to make a comeback. So I'll probably trim it back really good, all the brown or yellow leaves. And it's just full of fruit. And just kind of work it from there. And I do want to do more cuttings on the collard trees. Oh, they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. this is what I sometimes do when it's a quiet day. Gary's not here. I don't hear leaf blowers and all that. And I just want to walk. Just take a walk and get your thoughts together. Like, what do I want to do? I've been clearing up in here and making it where I can walk. Of course, I said that last year, and then it turned into a jungle. See, it turned into a jungle. I've got all that tulle on everything. But, and that does protect the plant. So I've got good ones that are covered in tulle. I can eat those without a problem. There's no, bird bites out of them and everything. And then the other ones, I can still juice the ones that the birds have been eating. But anyways, this is what I do. I kind of walk through. My mind is just going and going. And look at this. I came out here and I saw this morning. I thought, should I take it off? Then I thought, no, you know why? It's out in the open and a bird can sit right here and feed on that. So I'm going to leave it. It's not hurting me. Let the birds eat it. And they do. Oh, the little bush tits come in the afternoon and they're just like pepper all over. They're just spotted all over the plants and they're just eating and eating. Like little tiny eating machines. They're so cute. Let's see. And then even Throwback Thursday. Oh my gosh. I've been starting to go through the old videos. I might do one on that. Last year I had these little plants exactly a year ago and look at them now. Of course the other ones are gone, but if I talk about it, then I can't do a Throwback Thursday. So they're going to seed too. That's blue dazzling kale. And look, my moringa. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in. My moringa is coming back to life all through here. All through here. So the big tree made it through the winter. Even though we were freezing, it was so bad, that made it through the winter. But anyways, as I was saying, you know what? There's not much else here. I've been putting up this stuff. Got this at the 99-cent store. I know it's not going to last. This is not as strong or as good as tulle. It's kind of a plasticky paper thing. But I want something that beans and cucumbers and stuff can grip to. And even if I rip it off at the end of the season and throw it away, until I get a chain link here, Gary came and made me a gate. And that's kind of as far as it went. That's why I had to put this makeshift stuff there. And he said he's going to get to it. And that's okay. This works right now. I put some wire around here and put this up. Now it'll work. And then, of course, the wire there. You know why that wire's back there? Gary was so mad. My mother was coming over here, and she was afraid the grandkids were going to fall off the edge. Not that they fall that far, but, I mean, it's still, what, 5 foot drop? So anyways, he had to put the fence up that time, but it worked out good. I prefer the fence. Now I can bring the dogs out here with me when I want. We've got crows hanging around watching me. So anyways, as I digress, let's go through the gates. So I go through my Throwback Thursday and Gary's looking and goes, look, before you started the garden, you were walking with a cane. I forgot I was walking with a cane. And it was like, that's right. I did walk with a cane. I said, so did you. Not only did Gary walk with a cane, I had to get him a cane with a seat. So if he had to stand too long somewhere, let's see what's back here. I saw a rabbit a second ago. He could sit. This was long before the garden. He's got arthritis in his back. And they've told me the same thing, I guess, years ago. Oh, yeah, we're getting old. So I did go for knee surgery. Oh, I don't even know how many years ago that was now. 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And they told me, oh, you'll be down for a week or two, and then you'll be back up running around and doing stuff. And that was a lie. I was 6 weeks on crutches. And when they went to do the second knee, I said, and it wasn't knee replacement. It was just the meniscus and all that, childhood injuries. And I told him, no, I can't do this again. I have too many things to do, and there is no way that I'm going to be down another 6 weeks. Not another 6 weeks. Look at the nasturtiums growing up there. Started with a few. Gary said they came in with the woodchips, and then every year they get more and more. Soon we'll have the field, and everybody will be coming here to take photos in the nasturtiums. No. But isn't that cool? They've been getting more and more. It's been bigger. Started with just like 1 or 2 flowers a couple years ago, and now it's the whole hilltop there and the whole side down there. It's just so cool. And that one, of course, that moringa's got its leaves. So I said no, and I decided to just wobble and limp around for the longest time. And once we started the garden, Gary's no longer using a cane at all. I don't even know where it is, and I'm not using a cane. I couldn't believe the old photos. I had a cane. It really does make a difference when you eat right. It really changed my whole metabolism. Oh, I've been told that Gary is going to clear out my pile I love. This has been sitting here for quite a couple years now, I should say. And I do dig out of that. As you can see, I dig some holes in there and take potting soil. I guess I call it potting soil. I grow in that. It's really broke down in the center really good. But I was just informed that my daughter is ordering, I don't even know what you call it, next week. She's ordering an arcade. They bring a whole big semi-truck with arcade games because my grandson just turned 13 and that's what he wants. So Gary's got to clear the whole place so they can bring in a great big semi and park, and the kids can play in the semi when they bring down with all the arcade games. I didn't even know they do that. I don't know what happened to the bouncers. She used to order bouncers, but I guess 13 years old is not going to be jumping in a bouncer. Then she ordered in the summer those splash things with the big slides. So that's not happening. So, oh well, so we're going to clean up the yard a little bit so it will look nice because apparently quite a few kids are coming in my family. So let's take a walk down here. I want you all to know, and this is something I do think about and it really does bother me, that I can't get to every single comment and question. And let me tell you, I try. And even some of my friends are on there that may understand. I haven't even gotten to them. So it's, I'm not picking or choosing even the questions that are, or the comments that are nasty or mean. I even get to those, and the thing is, I do try to get to all of them. I really, really do. Thank goodness I can type. And it's something I did take in school. I'm not sure if I ever talked about that. I didn't want to take typing. This was in junior high, and my dad made me. I remember he said, "You're taking typing." And I said, "Why would I take typing? I'm not going to be a secretary." And I'm not going to sit at a desk all day. And he goes, "It doesn't matter. I want you to take typing." And he had to sit down with me. And my mom didn't care. Whatever I wanted to take. I was always taking art and different things like that. But he made me take typing. "You are taking typing." Look at the wood chips. They're all over. He's moving a lot of this stuff. And I said, "I don't want to take typing." And he said, "You know what? Do me a favor. You take typing, and I don't care what grade you get." But anyways, he said, "You do me a favor. You take typing, and I don't care if you even fail the class." I said, "I'm not going to get punished." "Nope, you're not going to get punished. Just take typing, and whatever you get out of it, you get out of it. Because someday," he said, "I know you're going to need typing." So reluctantly, I took typing. I was always a kid full of energy. I wasn't a tomboy. I wasn't really climbing trees. But I really always had a lot of energy. And I just couldn't see sitting behind the desk typing. But I went ahead. He promised me I could fail the class. And he promised me that I would not have any repercussions with a bad grade in typing. And I took typing. Not only did I take typing for 1 semester, I took it for 2. I enjoyed it so much. Thank goodness I took it for 2 semesters so I can type. And I did really well in it. And I have over the years, he was right, I use typing. So I can get on there. I can type fairly quick. I just can't get to the hundreds and hundreds of questions and comments that can come in daily. That I would be typing all day. I literally get on in the morning and be typing all day and keep going. So I'm doing what I can. And a lot of times what I do is somebody will ask a question from a very old video that I put up, and I will go back, and when I answer that question, then what I do is I start from the bottom. That's why somebody may get an answer 10 months later, and I work my way up all the questions, and I start all over again. So this way I try to get every single one before I leave that video answered. So it's kind of odd sometimes the way it's done, but that's what I do. And I try to get to the newest ones, but then the newest ones aren't new anymore. Then there's other ones. So I am doing my best. I would really love to just come out and do a video on all the questions. So, I mean, and I do that too. I try to answer them when I do my garden tours if I have a lot of questions, especially if it's the same. Here's Gary's berries. He said he's having a lot of problems because of the pepper trees here. And they send out a lot of roots. See the pepper trees? These are Brazilian pepper trees. He wants them out. He planted them, but he wants them out. Oh, I see his guamachil back there is flowering. Look at that. I think it's flowering. Look at, isn't that beautiful? That's so good. I love guamachil. Oh, and see, Gary is using tulle down there. I think he's got tulle and I think he's got jackfruit down there. I'm not sure what he's got down there, but he's got some stuff covered in tulle and shea cloth. But anyways, the guamachil tastes so good. But he did plant the pepper trees because he wanted to kind of do a wind block and all that without realizing how bad their roots were. And this was 10 years ago maybe already. They were tiny trees. So his goal at some point is to plant this up with guamachil and different types of trees that he likes to eat that will do the same thing, but they don't have an invasive root system. And then they won't be going into his garden. He's making like trenches where he cuts the roots because a lot of your worst invasive roots actually are very close to the surface. So you can get a lot of those. Here's his apple trees. He said he's had nothing but problems because of the roots. And then, of course, when he had all those apples, the deer went and ate them all. So I guess he's, for now, I'm not going to say he's given up, but he wants to get the root system taken care of first. Sand. And do that. So whatever he does, he does. I mean, I don't come down here that often. I've got to hike all the way down, and I'm usually so busy in my garden. And I'm going to admit his garden is far more beautiful than mine. And he puts less work into it. But he's got it straight into the ground. Look at that. And they're growing straight into the wood chips, not containers, most of this stuff. And look how big they are. And you know what? A lot of these are cuttings out of my garden. Look at the size of his green Swiss chard. They're like elephant ears. Look at this. Look at that. Why am I going into my garden in the morning to pick greens when I can be coming down here and pick 1 or 2 leaves and I got enough for the whole meal? Wow, look at his artichoke back there. That artichoke plant all the way back there, he told me almost died. And when he cut the roots from the trees that were coming into his garden, the artichoke plant just took off. He's putting in this bed here. This is what he's still working on. And he's got a lot of projects down here he's working on. He's working on swimming pools. I can't give you the whole details of what he's doing, but it's something to do with, he's got fish in here, and he's going to plant strawberries, and he's got a whole lot of stuff going on here. So he's going to explain that, but this is all new. I haven't seen this. Shame on me. I have not seen this. I didn't even know he built this. I saw him down here last night working too. Wow. So he's got his own space. And I've got mine. Isn't that funny? He took this thing. This was here when we got the house. And it was like, he had ideas. He was going to enclose this and make this giant aviary and fill it with all kinds of things. And that kind of went like, oh my gosh, that's going to be a lot of work. But this, once we started doing the wood chips, forget it. This is what he wanted. And this works perfect because, see, with the slats, even in the hottest times, in the hottest days, the trees and the plants down here underneath are getting a little bit of sunshade, sunshade, sunshade. So it works really, really good. And that's why mine can get really hot because I don't have a cover at all, where his gets sunshade, sunshade, sunshade. So it works really, really good. But his greens are just gorgeous, all of them. He's got the red Swiss chard, he's got the green, he's got curly purple kale back there. Gosh, he's got everything back here. I was down here a couple weeks ago, and look how different it looks. He's got tree collard. He's got everything back here. I'm definitely going to be grabbing a bunch of this to make a green drink. Just gorgeous. And then, of course, he's got, I don't even know, is this mint? I think this is wild mint. Oh, yes, it is. And he won't use that, neither will I. So he's got wild mint. It just took off on its own. And then, of course, he's got his pond. So that's kind of what I do. I just come out, especially when it's quiet and he's not here or something. I'll take a walk, think about the projects I want to do. I want to start getting tomato plants and different plants in. I've got seeds in the house I'm doing. I've got a lot of people that actually messaged me and said, oh, well, we don't want to use 2 paper cups. We want to use 1. I've got another way I do it using 1 paper cup, and it works even better than the 2-cup system. So I'll have to get that up too, and it works really, really good for me. He's used it too as well. Look at this. Oh, his Swiss chart's going to go to seed. And I hear the bananas rustling, the leaves. Isn't that beautiful? They're rustling in the wind. We've got like our days right now are, they say it's going to get warm. It gets cloudy, they say it's going to rain, and they say it's going to be hot. It's been very unstable, the weather. You never know what it's going to be. It was supposed to pour yesterday, and it did not. Not here. But his banana plants are doing good. So he's working on some Throwback Thursdays, and I'm working on Throwback Thursdays, and that's just been amazing to just look at the throwback stuff from before and what things look like before and what they look like now. But isn't that just really nice? He's got to pull all the brown stuff off from his ubes, which are underground. He didn't dig that many up this year. He said he didn't have the time. So I've seen a few. He's been bringing them in and cooking them. But he does have a lot of work to do down here. But this is gorgeous. I think he needs some gnomes around here, especially when he's not home. But yes, now that he's got the rabbits out, and that makes a big difference. He will grow far more greens than me because I am dealing with rabbits. He fenced them out. So with not having any rabbits in here, he does have the squirrel occasionally come in here, but the squirrel isn't going to eat a lot of your greens. The squirrel will, they'll go after tomatoes, they'll go after anything, peppers, they'll go after berries. They're more fruit-like. Will they take greens? Yes, but the rabbits can level a plant. That's the problem. And then the birds, he's got birds in here, but he doesn't have as many birds. Look at his sweet potatoes. This is still his sweet potatoes, but he's been slowly making the sweet potato beds a little smaller because this used to be all sweet potatoes. And now it's got all this other stuff he's putting in. He's building a lot of these brick planters, these raised beds. So anyways, that's what I thought I would do. So our week was good. So let's see. So he got a hat and he found a tripod. He's got this idea. He wants to set up a tripod and do a pan and do different things in the garden. And going to the nursery, that was interesting that they don't, a regular big nursery, they did not really get their garden vegetables in yet. A little bit, but in general, very, very few. I went to Joann's and Gary, I made him come in because he left me there when he went to AAA to go pay for the tags on my car that still needs to be smogged better. It needs to pass one more thing. And I told him, meet me back in Joann's. So he came into Joann's and he actually found some fabric in the Easter department that he liked. And I'm going to make him a pocket on t-shirts so he can carry stuff like I carry stuff all over. So he picked out that fabric. So we only needed 1/3 of a yard and it was half price. It was like $2, I think. I think we spent $2 for the fabric. And it's going to make at least 3 pockets. So I'm going to make a pocket out of it so we can match. No, it was real pretty. It's a really nice fabric he actually picked out. And let's see, what else did we do? That's it. So now I got to clean up my yard a little bit because obviously we're going to have a big party here with arcades. My grandson is a gamer, 13 years old. Oh my gosh, he's such a funny kid. He must have been 3 and 4 gaming with all the big kids online. And he was better than the older kids and the older people. And he'd sit there and they just, the way they talk, these gamers. And they thought they were playing with somebody that was in their teens. And he was, 4? Oh, look, he's got bananas. And he would say, does your mom know how you talk? It was so funny. And he's like an A student. He is so smart. And you know what? He's so good at math. It might be from all the gaming he did. He's brilliant. His only problem is, and now I don't think they're giving him a hard time anymore. They gave him a harder time when he was in grammar school, you can throw him numbers. He's like a genius. You can throw him numbers and he can tell you the answer, but he can't tell you how. And that's what the teachers used to be so upset about. How did you come up with the answer? He just knows it. It just instantly, he just knew the numbers.
And that was his way, his head, the way his mind works. So that's just so beautiful back here. All these sweet potatoes. And he's got all different types in here. So anyways, now he's 13 and now he's getting an arcade here for his birthday. And that was it. I just thought I'd take you on my walk. And this is not for the people that are trying to get anything out of me, as far as gardening, because it's not really a garden tour or anything. This is not a garden tour. See over here. This is just taking a walk in the garden with the animals and the birds and the squirrels are running around and the rabbits I saw. The birds are singing. Pepinos. He's got, look at his pepinos growing. Isn't that beautiful? He's got pepinos all over. They're gorgeous. They turn into a great big bush. Then he's got dill growing all over the ground. Of course, he's got all this grass because it's weed time, weed abatement. He's been pulling. That's the backside of wood chips. Obviously, he's been digging that out too. So, and this is, like I said, this is just me unwinding in the garden, taking you with me. And we had a nice quiet week. And now I got to clean up my garden a little bit so it will look a little bit presentable for my daughter and the people that are coming. And it should be fun. I really enjoyed that. Of course, one of his friends, I found out, has a gluten sensitivity. Can't have gluten. And what does my grandson tell him? Oh, well, you probably will have to bring your own snacks and food. And my daughter calls me and I say, are you kidding me? Gary and I don't eat wheat. We're gluten sensitive. So, and this is, that was funny. She says, well, are you going to make fried chicken? I will make fried chicken. I will make a cake. I will do everything. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to be doing all that, and it won't have wheat. I might just sit here for a minute. So that should be really, really good. And I can check out all the birds and everything. Like I was saying earlier, before we cut out wheat in our diet, we had more issues. I mean, I was supposed to go for that second surgery on my knee. By simply cutting out wheat, no, there's no knee surgery even to talk about anymore. And as far as Gary, that's an interesting story. He lived his whole life as a kid without a sense of smell. He had allergies, really bad allergies. He had no sense of smell. And when he gave up gluten that time, long story, I don't want to get into it because that would be another hour. He got his sense of smell back. We had to have the gas company come in the middle of the night because he thought he smelled gas. He didn't know what he was smelling because he had no sense of smell. So that really changed his life by getting off of wheat. And like I said, no more cane. He feels better, no puffiness. Periodically, he may have some allergies because we've got mustard flowering everywhere and grass seeds and stuff. But his regular allergies, no. It really did change our life. I wish a lot of people would just try it. And I've got a whole video on that and how we tried it and why we tried it and how that changed our lives. It was just funny. Years ago, you used to be able to buy a pass to Disneyland really cheap. It'd be like $150 you'd got to go in for the year. And we would go there and we'd get the sourdough bread soup, which is really good, clam chowder or whatever it is, a cream soup in the sourdough. And I could never eat that much, and he would finish it. We would have to leave. He would get really sick. He just didn't feel well. He never knew that it was the flour doing that to him. It used to make him sick. So he got away from all that wheat, and he feels 100% better, 100% better. And like I said, we look back and I see myself walking with a cane. To walk down here, I couldn't walk without a cane. That's why he started building stairways with rails, because I couldn't walk. That all changed just by changing our diet. By starting this is when he brought in the wood chips. He was determined to start gardening, really seriously gardening. Even though the ground was clay and hard and really difficult to grow in, he was going to bring in the wood chips and start gardening. And then, of course, later on, I started with the containers. And this way, if you don't want to plant in the ground, there's just all different ways. Anybody can plant something. And I think that's so important that everybody grows something, even if it's a little mint, parsley, onion chives, garlic chives, walking onion, something. It's to get the great nutrients of knowing that you picked it and you're eating it fresh. That, to me, is so important. And I can see the difference. You don't even have to eat that much. A little good food goes a long way. A little. Just a little good food goes a long way. I'm not trying to get anybody to change their diet and stop eating all kinds of things and cut this out. And, you know, a lot of people aren't going to do that. I didn't. But I do believe that a little of something really good does go a long way. I know a lot of people have taken a good thing and they've overdone it. You know, they've done it with kale. Oh, kale is the greatest thing. I'm going to eat 5, 6, 8 pounds of kale a day and I'm going to be healthy. Are you kidding me? It's the same thing in water. Go sit down and drink a couple gallons of water and you'll end up in the hospital or worse. You know, just because something's good doesn't mean more is better. It's the opposite on a lot of things. You just need a little. So with good food grown, whether it's grown in your own kitchen scraps and whatever fresh grown food, a piece of food that comes off the plant and into your body is just full of all the nutrients you absolutely want. And when you get it in the store and you get it in a package, in a plastic bag, don't want to go into details on what could be done with it. You know, you don't know what nutrients are actually left in it. I know for a fact that when you grow it, you're going to get far more. And that's why go to the grocery store. I go to the grocery store, buy your stuff, but grow something. Swiss chard is so easy to grow. You can almost grow that as a houseplant. I mean, that is so easy. This is Swiss chard in front of me. And it's got so many vitamins in it and your enzymes and phytonutrients and everything in there. I mean, there's so many things that people can grow even on a patio, a small little patio. And moringa, I'm determined to get moringa growing all over as like little pots, as small plants. Grow them as just a one season plant. And when winter comes, start them over. They're so cheap. You can get the seeds for $5 to under $10 for 100 seeds. You don't need 100 plants. Just plant a couple of them, keep the seeds in a nice, cool, dry place, and then plant some more the following seasons. Plant them in the winter in the house in a pot. Move them outside as the weather gets better. And look at that. That's sow thistle. We use that. That's growing in Gary's garden. So there's so many things. Anyways, now you listen to me talk. Of course, I'll get the thumbs down because people were not interested in this. And I don't bait click. I don't like putting thumbnails up to get somebody to come and see what I've done or try. That's what I'm talking about. These are tips and things that's going on. It's just thoughts and things I'm grateful for, and I am grateful for so much. I'm grateful for all of you that are watching. I enjoy this. If I've helped anybody, that makes me feel so good. That's the best thing in the world. And then I'm grateful for my dad who made me take typing. I wouldn't be able to sit there with 2 fingers and be able to type and answer questions like I can go through 20 questions in maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my mom that, with all her baking, she always loved to cook and bake. I probably get my cooking from her. And always big birthday parties, cakes, cupcakes. She baked for the school. She baked for me. She baked for everybody. My friends would come over and watch her bake. She made the most beautiful cakes. She should have done it professionally, but she never did. But she did take classes, and she really enjoyed it and did beautiful, beautiful cakes. And we don't have a lot of photographs of stuff like that. So many things we miss out on photographs, It was expensive back then to have film and do pictures. Now everybody does pictures. You carry a phone in your pocket and you pull it out. Oh, I'm going to get Gary an iPhone. I used one. It's really cheap, but I told him it's about time. He uses his old flip. Oh, that was funny. The flip phone he's using wasn't even that old. I had to bring in his brick, and they all had to stand around laughing because he had the old brick one, and he didn't want to give it up, but it finally stopped working. So now he's got an old flip phone. But I told him, look, I'm going to get you an iPhone. We have a number we don't use, and we'll put the iPhone on that. And then when you go to the hardware store, you need something, you can do a little clip. So now he's going to have an iPhone. Hopefully it will be here soon. and then he can get his clips, things he wants to drop into his video. Sometimes he just wants to do something for a reminder. I do a lot of that for just a reminder. I'll grab out my phone now. I had to learn how to use it. I still don't know how to use my iPhone. It's kind of this deal I had last year where it was, you got it for free basically, and that's why I did it. I couldn't pass up the deal, so I ended it with a basic free iPhone, and that's why I did it. And now I'm back to my other service provider. But yeah, I talked to them yesterday and they said, go ahead, get the phone and we're going to turn it on and Gary will have an iPhone so he can do reminders. I told him, just think of it as reminders. I used to raise hamsters as a kid. I loved animals. People would give me hamsters, and before I knew it, a whole garage had 100 hamsters in it, and I was giving them the best food in the world. Going to the grocery store, and back then, grocery stores were wonderful. They were getting fresh produce off the farm. I know that because my dad was a pickle man, and I used to go with him to the farm to pick up the cucumbers and have them brought down to his work, and they turn them into pickles. And the grocery store food when I was a kid was all fresh, and I would go and know everybody and go get the scraps and the stuff I did. Just unreal. And bring home boxes, or if I couldn't carry it, I'd call my mom, she'd come pick me up. I'd have a big case of greens and carrots and everything that they didn't put out in the store. And used to go to the carpenter down the block and go load up boxes of pine because they were making cabinets, and bring that home, and the things I did. I even went to a guy that, now this you wouldn't do. I went to a man's house. Like I said, you wouldn't do this now, knocked on his door. He lived with his mother. And I said, I went through your trash and I found movie reels, big movie reels. And she said, well, my son works in the movie business. And I said, I need to talk to your son. I was like 10. And she said, well, he'll be here tomorrow if you want, or later. And I said, all right, I'll come back. I went back and I talked to him. I said, I need movie reels. And he got me off the studios movie reels, and I was building all my own cages. I was a kid that didn't like to sit still. Probably why I didn't like to read. I couldn't sit still. I always had to do things. I was out on my bike. Certain days, Thursday was trash day. I couldn't wait. I'm in school. There I am, 7, 8, 9 years old. I'm in school. It's Thursday. I've got to get home. This is trash day. I've got to get on my bike. And I used to go with my girlfriend, and we would both grab our bikes and go through the alleys and bring home all kinds of treasures and stuff. I even found a desert tortoise going down the driveway once. That would have been back in, I don't want to say that, a long time ago. All the stuff we would bring home and things I would do. And thank goodness I grew up in a time that if kids were full of energy, they never even talked about putting any kids on drugs or anything. And I was an antsy kid. I didn't like to sit still. I mean, I was a good little girl, and the teachers loved me. But I, in grammar school, had a lot of energy. And they kept me busy. I was yard monitor. I'd have to clean up after the paint if we were painting something in school, doing craft projects. My job was to clean everything up. I loved it. I was bell ringer. So every time there was recess or lunchtime or before school, after school, they gave me that job. So I would go into the office and ring the bell because everything was done by hand. I was doing all kinds of take care of the kindergarten kids. They give me a banner, go take care of the kindergarten kids when I was in 5th and 6th grade. And that's what I did. You're done with your work? Go take care of them. And I would take care of them, and all the kids loved me. And then I would even work in the nurse's office. And that kind of made my mother a little nervous, because I'd come home and say, that kid was running 103, and I had to take care of him until his mother came. So there we are at the dinner table, and my mom's saying, what do you mean you were taking care of a kid with 103 temperature? Oh, don't worry. I took care of him, gave him some water. I washed up the thermometer real good afterwards with alcohol. And she said, what are you doing taking care of sick kids? Now, I used to have my own problems as a kid. I used to have tonsillitis and everything, and they had to pull my tonsils out. And I said, I work in the nurse's office when I'm done in class. That she wanted stopped. I did it for a while, but then she wouldn't let me, because she had her own issues with me. I was really a strange kid. I remember when I was really young, my mother was always, worried I was going to get sick or something. That was the first one born, so it's just, you always worry, I guess, a little more about the first one. And I remember her taking me to my doctor, Dr. Richard Shore. Love that doctor. And she'd keep me out of school so much in the beginning. This was in kindergarten and first grade. I can still remember that. And I remember going to the doctor's office, and he said, "Why is she here today?" "She's running a fever." "What is she running?" "She's running like 100. "Okay." And he goes, "Well, why is she, what's wrong with her?" And remember my mom said, "She's running a fever." He said, and so he asked me, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel great." And then he asked my mom, "How often does she do that?" She says, "Well, I can rarely get her temperature down to normal. It seems like it's always in the 99s to 100. So what do I do? What do I do?" And so you know what he told her? "Keep the blessed thermometer out of her mouth and send her to school." I remember I was so excited. And my mom said, "But I want to know her temperature." "You don't need to know her temperature. When she comes to you and tells you she's sick, take her temperature. Otherwise, leave her alone and keep the thermometer out of her mouth." Who knows why I would do that? Maybe I had an allergy. I did have bad tonsils for many years, and then they had to remove those. Really bad. I couldn't have anything cold. Could you imagine? Nothing cold. If it was a popsicle, I would have tonsillitis the next day. That's how bad my tonsils were. My sister and brother never had it that bad, but I did. And I would sit outside and look pathetic when the ice cream man would go by. We used to have the ice cream trucks, and he would stop. I'd be sitting by myself, and he'd say, "Oh, little girl, you don't have any money?" And I said, "No, my mother didn't give me money for anything." So he'd say, "Here," and he'd give me a popsicle. How many times I did that? Just sit there, and I said, "You sure?" He said, "Oh, yes, I'm sure. Take a popsicle." He'd give me a popsicle. Next day, I'm running 102, 103 fever. My mother would be like, "What did you do?" And I told her, the ice cream man gave me a popsicle. I couldn't say no. So, funny, funny kid. How life is just so funny. Isn't it amazing? And now, I just love the garden. I've always loved nature as a kid. I've talked about that in a lot of my videos. And I think so much of us have so many things to be fortunate for. We all have good and bad in our lives. We have to do what we have to do. But you know what? All in all, we're here, and we just have to make the best of it and do things we like. And this is just beautiful. I think with this, I've done my thoughts, and I think I'm going to go get some stuff done. Gary should be home pretty soon. And maybe I'll try to get that video together on tulle, because that has just been the greatest thing. The tulle and the stakes now, I don't have to think about buying big stakes anymore. The zip ties are so great. And they just are so snug. Oh, I see the Oreo. Nope, that's the Oreo went into the bushes, and now I've got a regular house finch. Oh, look at that. Gary put a, I don't know if you can see that. It's hard to see. I'll have to get a front shot. He put a nest box up there he built for whoever wants to use it, and it is the Oreo in the banana tree here. Last year and the year before, I believe, they set up a nest, and she has her babies there. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? They are so beautiful. They've been courting and flying around. Oh, yes, they're both there. And they want me gone. What they do, it's very interesting. I think Gary will do the video on that, is they weave a nest inside the banana leaves. They go underneath the banana leaves because they fold. See how they fold? You probably can barely see it. But the banana leaves hang and they fold, and they go inside. They find a leaf that they like, and then they weave a nest inside. So if you walk by the banana trees, they probably do this in bird of paradise and different trees too. But if you walk by, you'll never see the nest. You won't even know it's there. The only reason Gary knows where they put the nest is because he's working in here, and they'll be dodging back and forth, and they'll be carrying all kinds of insects and things, and he knows where they are. They're deciding where they're going to build their next nest, and there they are. Yeah, I can't get close to them because they're not as tame as hummingbirds, and they're probably not happy I'm sitting here. But that's what they're doing. So they showed up about, I'm going to say, less than 2 weeks ago. The male showed up first. That was very interesting. And they come to the hummingbird feeders, and the female showed up a week later. There were no females. So the males arrived first, and then the female showed up, and then they pair off. And this is why it's so beautiful to sit here. It's just, where can you sit basically in the city and have it so quiet and pretty and nice? All you hear is the Oreo and the hummingbirds. I heard the Oreos, and what they're doing is they're in the leaves. They're looking for their right leaf. I can still see them. You probably can't. They're hopping around. And then, of course, the hummingbirds, and I hear other birds singing. That's a female. Oh, she saw me. She knows I'm here, but they want to be left alone. It's there in the back, and they're still going around. And she'll pick out the right leaf, and then they'll start weaving. They use the leaf itself and pieces from the other leaves, I believe, and then they'll weave it, and they'll have like a tunnel where they can go in. They can't come in from the top because the top of the leaf, it's like an umbrella. It protects their babies. So if it rains, their babies stay dry. It's just amazing how animals can think of all these things. And so the babies stay very dry. You can have the worst storm and they'll stay really dry, and she'll enter from underneath. She'll have to come under the leaf and enter from underneath where it's kind of like a tunnel. And then she'll go in there, and then the babies will come out, and then they'll perch. And she had last time, I think, at least 2 nests. A lot of birds have 2. Hummingbirds will do 3. And some other birds will do 3. They're all different. It depends on the weather, I think. And it also depends with nature on the amount of food. A lot of it is structured by food. If they've got the food, then they will produce more. If they don't have the food, they'll produce less. And then, of course, a little bit with weather. But the weather is pretty much, it's going to change. It's going to be, what they want no matter what. Even if like we've had cooler weather than normal, they could still produce 3 times, even though they may not have started early enough. What they're basing their breeding on is the amount of food, because food is the most important thing. And that's what they need. And if they find an abundance of food, then they can have multiple nests. They need to know that they have enough food for their babies. See how they're going underneath? Just trying to get under the leaves. That's the most important thing, because they need to know they have enough to raise babies on. If they have a hard time finding food, they'll do 1 nest and then they're done for the year until next year. So I think with that, I'm going to go in. And I hope you enjoyed my walk with me on a beautiful, quiet day. And our week was interesting and boring like usual. But you know what? This is what we love, and this is what Gary loves. Gary loves nature. I love nature. And I think that's really, really cool. Oh, I hear another call. So have a great day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody. And thanks for coming along with me. So I'm not by myself. Bye-bye.
So Gary's not home yet. I put a couple gnomes around, and the little guy's surfing, and I stuck it in his pond. He has no idea I'm coming down to his garden, so he's going to be surprised when he comes down to work. And the reason he doesn't know is I mentioned to him, maybe I should make a vlog today. And he said, nobody wants to hear a vlog. So he has no idea that I'm down here. But we'll see what he does, what his reaction is when he comes down and sees his ponds with gnomes and a little Jack that's surfing. He needs color in the garden.